Hi guys, and welcome to the channel. My name is Nick O'Leary. Now today we're looking at one of these, which is a Mercedes-AMG G63 Magno Edition. Now for starts, as with all G-classes or G-Wagons, they have such presence on the road and offer that extremely aggressive stance, especially when it comes to a Mercedes-AMG model. So for starts, you've got the AMG specific grille, and then of course you've got the red brake calipers and black wheels. Everything about this car just offers that amazing stance on the road. Now compared to G-Wagons from years and years ago, this one's undergone quite a few changes, ranging from a slightly different chassis to a different body, different engines, gearbox. Basically everything's a little bit different. However, this one's actually about 170 kilograms lighter compared to the previous models from years ago, but it still retains some of that awesome off-road experience that these cars can achieve. And while we're on the topic of the previous G-classes, the new one is actually 53mm longer and 121mm wider. So all in all this extra room actually goes to the passengers on the inside. So this benefits everyone. So for the front legroom, you get 38 extra millimeters. Rear legroom is increased by a further 150 millimeters. The front shoulder room, 38 millimeters more. The rear shoulder room is an extra 27 millimeters. And then the front elbow room and rear elbow room, 68 for the front and 56 for the back. Now when it comes to customizing a G-Class at the factory, there are usually quite a few options to choose from compared to like your typical Mercedes. Now with the introduction of this new model, you also have a new thing called G-Manufacture. And G-Manufacture basically means you have more colour options for the exterior and more colour options for the seats as well. Now this particular car here is a Mercedes-AMG G63 Magno Edition. And more specifically, it's a Designo Night Black Magno. It turns everything matte black. So we're talking the paint, even the badging on the side, the V8 bi-turbo, and even the wheels as well. And for one of these, I think it's quite fitting. So guys, let's talk about this engine. So in a Mercedes-AMG G63, they house a 4-litre V8 bi-turbo, and the bi-turbo meaning 2 turbos. So with all of that in mind, it outputs 585 horsepower, meaning its 0 to 60 time, wait for it, is 4.5 seconds, which is crazy fast for a car like this. Now also its top speed is 137 miles an hour, but if you want, you could opt for a thing called the AMG Drivers Package, which will remove this limiter, meaning its top speed will be 149 miles an hour, which again, for a car like this, and its size, aerodynamics as well, obviously being quite square, is crazy fast. So yes, all round, very, very, very fast. Now, as with all Mercedes-AMGs on their top-end models, they also have the signature plaque, even in 2021 as well. So this car's no exception. Once this person has made this car, they'll put their plaque on the engine to signify that they made this with their bare hands. Very, very nice. So what's it sound like? Well, of course, this video wouldn't be complete without a sound test, but I'll save that for the end. So stick around for the end and we'll show you what it sounds like with the exhaust valves open and the exhaust valves closed as well. So then guys, let's get on to the main part of the video, going through the interior, starting off in the boot. But before we do that, notice there is genuinely a spare wheel on the back of the car, because this can do some pretty intense off-roading. You never know when you might need it, so a very welcoming feature. So let's have a look at the boot. Now it opens up this way, and the thing that always catches my eye is the high quality materials that you'll find in the back. So in some cars, you'll sometimes find some good materials in the front, and of course more premium manufacturers will offer leather everywhere and that sort of thing. But sometimes you'll find there'll be some more evidence of plastics when you go to the rear of the car, which for me isn't a problem because I spend most of my time in the front driving. But even in a G-Class here, you'll find, look at this fine detail on the back here. It's so, so nice. Kind of makes me want to sit in the back. So stats on the boot is 667 litres with the seats as they are here, with them up. If you fold them down, it will go up to 1,941 litres, so a huge increase there. And there is a tow bar as well in case you want to do any towing. The towing capacity braked is 3,500 kilograms. Now for those with a keen eye, you can probably see those TV screens there in the back, or multimedia screens. So this features the rear entertainment package. Let's have a look, see what those do. So when it comes to the rear seats, this particular car has the rear entertainment package, and what this is basically two screens here allowing you to have separate content on each. Now there's a couple of ports, so if I tap home, there's USB, there's HDMI and auxiliary as well, so you can plug in your favourite content. For me, I've got a USB stick plugged in at the moment and just playing a video on the screen like this. Now traditionally, with some older G-Wagons and even any other Mercedes for that matter with rear entertainment, you used to have these kind of Mercedes-Benz headphones, and those were the only ones that worked with the car. Now that's changed, so now this has been opened up with just traditional Bluetooth, so you can actually connect your favourite Bluetooth headphones and just use any headphones now. So before you had to use the Mercedes-Benz headphones and you had to visit the workshop to get it paired, which I think was a bit of an inconvenience. Now you can just use any headphones, which is a huge bonus. Now it's not all about rear screens, so let's go through some other things here. So we've got double glazed windows for the rear here, ambient lighting, and again that really fine material on the back. We've got heated seats for the rear, little storage just in here. Now in the back as well there is climate control, so the climate control can be adjusted for the temperature and the fan speed separately to the front. And down here there's a USB port with a 12-volt socket, and I'm sure just like normal there's cup holders in here. Yep. And also there's through loading as well, just in case you need to put any long items through from the boot to the front. Now up front, the interior of the G-Class is amazing. Most people's eyes are drawn straight away to this awesome widescreen display, which, you know, if I tap on the sat-nav, looks amazing. You can see very, very clearly your speed in front of you, sat-nav here, and even things like this carbon fibre on the steering wheel and right in the middle as well. IWC clock as well. It just looks amazing, every single detail. Now some people, their eyes are drawn straight away to this handle here. Now that handle does actually serve a purpose. It is genuinely for the passengers to hold on to when you're kind of going off-road, because obviously it can be a little bit bumpy. And speaking off-road, these three buttons here are the diff locks. So first up, why do cars have diffs, or also known as differentials? Well, to keep it really, really simple, the way a diff works when cornering is by releasing one wheel and driving all the power to the wheel of least resistance. However, when this happens to a car when doing some extreme off-roading, the car is going to be sending power to this wheel here, because it is the wheel with the least resistance, because it's off the floor. So this is where a diff lock comes in. A diff lock ensures the power goes through to both wheels at the same time, meaning it'll turn this wheel and this wheel so you can get out. Of course, this is a very, very extreme example, but it does illustrate the G-Wagon's full off-road capability. So basically these buttons allow you to lock the diff on the centre, the front or the rear. So going underneath these buttons, you'll see that the climate control is here, and then underneath this we have Navi, Radio, Media, Tel and Vehicle. And quite simply, that is for this screen, and it's controlled using this touchpad here, or this wheel, or the left-hand side of the steering wheel. So if I tap home, you'll see there's Navi, Radio, Media, Tel, and then there's a few extra things down here like Vehicle, where you can adjust the displays, lights and a few settings and that sort of thing. So quite simply, if you go onto the sat-nav, very, very clear. But the good thing is with this is you can customize this screen over here as well, and even put the sat-nav over on this side if you wanted. Now, of course, this particular setup is very unique to this Mercedes-AMG. You can, of course, change this to some more traditional dials if you like the kind of classic look with two dials either side, and maybe you can have your speed in the middle like normal. But I know quite a few people quite like the kind of super sport look that this screen offers. Now, of course, this being a dedicated off-roader, G-Wagons used to be very geared up towards just for off-road use. And then, unfortunately, their kind of on-road use was, well, not that comfortable. Now, I'm pleased to say that this car has been set up for off-road and on-road. So you'll find that the newer G-Wagons, certainly you can always tell with the new shaped grille, those are the new ones. They're going to have some very, very good on-road performance as well, and kind of give you that Mercedes-Benz luxury experience you'd expect. Of course, all of this can be customized using the dynamic select button. You can basically swipe this up and down and go through these different modes, from slippery to individual. You've got comfort, sport and sport plus as well. So there's loads there to choose from. As you can see, compared to some other Mercedes, there's a huge long list of stuff that it changes on the car. And the one that always catches everyone's eye is the exhaust. So let's have a look, see what that sounds like. And there we go, guys, that concludes this week's video on the Mercedes-AMG G63 Magno Edition. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do hit that subscribe button, and of course don't forget that like button. Of course, if you want to see more future videos just like this. Now, these are quite difficult to get hold of, so I've got Sandown Mercedes-Benz to thank for actually getting hold of one, so I can actually make this video and show it to you all. But I guess if you fancied one yourself, have a look in the description down below. There's a link to Sandown Mercedes-Benz. Well, they might be able to get you one if you fancied one yourself. But guys, thanks again for watching. See you next week.